16th branch of Megamart and Macromart supermarkets in Bahrain has opened in Sahala. The best offers are available to the customers at affordable rates. Everyone is welcome. During and around the opening day, a variety of fish including salmon, meat and dairy products, roastery, frozen items, food and non-food items, groceries, fruits and vegetables, electronics, garments and ready-to-eat food items are available to the customers at affordable rates. Hearty welcome to all. Megamart and Macromart, your favorite shopping destination.
The exclusive franchisee of Cochin Kala Bhavan in Bahrain, with over a decade of existence in Bahrain. Exclusive online regular classes have started for classical dances, music vocal, instrumental music, cinematic dance, Kathak, Zumba body fitness, karate and yoga, drawing, arts and craft, children's theatre. For more information, please call 3909 6845 3909 4806 3885 2397 or visit www.bahrainmediacity.com.
An engineer by career, and a tested IT professional who proved himself a successful businessman in the field of healthcare. Akshay Jain, Managing Director for GCC AVM Labs, Bahrain. Born in Ambala, the 55-year-old grew up in Goa, where he did his schooling and then went on to secure an engineering degree in electrical and electronics from the Regional Engineering College, Surathkal. He entered into a career in the IT industry with stints at Chennai, Pune and Mumbai, and also did his own business in the field in Dubai from 1992 to 96. Subsequently, he started his own business in Goa the next year in telecom, distribution and medical insurance. Mr. Jain initiated his business venture in the kingdom with GEMS in 2002, the first third-party administration licensed by the Central Bank of Bahrain. He then came to the country and lived here until 2009 and then moved back to his hometown in Goa only to return with the Thyrocare Gulf Laboratories set up in 2014. The firm, now renamed AVM Labs, promises a future of quality and affordable preventive care with a vision to empower medical establishment with a powerful laboratory solution. With more than 700 laboratory clients across the GCC, AVM Labs has 5 state-of-the-art laboratories span GCC in Bahrain, Dubai, Muscat, Khobar and Riyadh, catering to over 1 million patients. Mr. Jain is married to Pallavi Jain, who is a painter, poet, writer and green activist. The couple has a son, an aspiring computer engineer. Once upon a time, he cherished photography as a hobby, and now he loves trekking and reading, says Mr. Jain, who loves change for the better. Joining us on Biztalk from BMC Global Live, a show which features success stories of business leaders, it is GCC Managing Director for AVM Labs, Akshay Jain. So tonight, when I'm going to tell you that the guest with me is from the healthcare field, perhaps the thoughts that would come to your mind would be, is it a doctor, a nurse, or perhaps someone running a hospital? The last would be this person or this industry that would come to your mind. With me tonight is the Managing Director of AVM Labs, Akshay Jain, on Biztalk from BMC Global Live, a show which features success stories of business leaders. Good evening, Mr. Jain. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. As I rightly said, you know, people do not relate the industry or the field that you're from with your daily healthcare needs, or because it's only hospitals that come to our mind, isn't it?
Correct.
Though we do a lot of lab tests in the hospital, we do our blood checks and everything, but I don't think it's into a common man's scope or prerogative about what happens behind the scenes.
That's true.
So I would love to, or rather the audience along with me would love to hear a little bit about the industry that you run, one of the state-of-the-art laboratories, one of the first of its kind in Bahrain and the region, accredited for a TPA or the third-party
No, that was the other business.
The other, okay, we'll come into it. So it's a AVM Labs.
Correct.
Let me begin with it. It was known as, I think people would more relate to the Thyrocare.
That's right.
Tell us about it, please.
Okay. So Thyrocare Gulf Laboratories was established in 2015.
Okay.
It was part of Thyrocare India. Dr. Velumani owned both Thyrocare India and Thyrocare Gulf part of it. And we had different other partners as well, having some shares in the business. So fast forward last year, when the company's valuation reached about $1 billion, he sold Thyrocare India to an online pharmacy called PharmEasy, which was very much in the news.
PharmEasy, yes.
Part of it, but he retained the international assets part of it. So The international business, which is basically Bahrain, Oman, UAE and Saudi, he retained it with him, and that is why this year we decided to rebrand it as AVM Labs, which is his initials, Dr. A. Velumani.
A. Velumani.
Part of it. So that's the story behind the name change.
I think the rebranding happened recent, right?
Yes,
Very recent.
in this August.
Okay.
As recent as that.
So do you see, because a name is always something big in the market when
Correct.
it comes to commercial. So Thyrocare has been out there tall and loud. How do you find the
Actually our business has not got impacted because the people know that the people behind it are the same. In fact, this is a stronger brand than now Thyrocare part of it, because Dr. Velumani is no longer associated with Thyrocare but is associated with AVM Labs. So both when it comes to, of course not many people are still aware of it, we are still making the awareness thing, but when it comes to the vendors, when it comes to the industry, everybody knows what Dr. Velumani stands for, because he is the one who made, you know, first starting with thyroid testing and then even with COVID, he made it affordable to the common man. Unlike other businessmen, he believes in charging what is the right price, not what is the market charging for it. So that has been the difference. In fact, I will quote him. He says, I created a brand for the common man, but the rich use it.
Okay, interesting, yeah.
Because we are, in India also we were among the first CAP and ISO 15189 accredited lab, so is the case in the region part of it. So we have all the international accreditation, but when it comes to our pricing, it is what we look at the common man can afford to pay.
Okay. This might be something which the common man perhaps do not know much, and that's where you would be helping to shed light more on this evening.
So our business model is essentially business to business. We are more of like a central kitchen for all the hospitals, clinics and all that. In the Middle East, we do not have much of walk-ins and all. Our walk-in or the direct customer interaction is less than 5%. You will be surprised to know that last year we did about 7 million tests in the region, but not even 5% was direct interaction with the customers.
Okay. Is it because of COVID, the 7 million?
COVID did play a part of it, because we were among the first labs both in Bahrain and in Oman to get approved to do in the private sector to do COVID testing. Those were challenging times, how to set up a COVID lab in a lockdown, not in Bahrain but in Oman. We had a total lockdown.
Yes.
We set up the labs, getting the equipment, getting the reagent, it was, and the manpower, because you know you didn't have very many people knowing how to do RT-PCR test in those days. So training them everything remotely was definitely challenging, but we rose to that thing, because people expect, being a leading lab player, for us to give that solution. We did that, we did it successfully in Bahrain, we did it in Oman, we did it in UAE.
Talking of COVID and Bahrain scene, I think Bahrain itself did more than 1 million tests, isn't it?
Much more. Bahrain government did a fantastic job. If my figures are right, they I think did close to 10 million tests.
Yes. So Bahrain is a country which crossed 1 million even in the peak of, and the numbers have been going up. Your lab is, I think, it's in Hid, isn't it?
That's right.
So you also used to do.
Correct.
Were you linked with the government?
No, we were, because you know initial days government facilities were getting overwhelmed with, and they needed the private sector to stand up and support it. So that's when we came up and we set it up. We met all the criteria the government had set for the lab, and we were allowed to test. So we supported the back end, the sector. Those were tough times, because everybody was very anxious part of it. So, and a lot of work was manual in the initial days. So, but soon things got automated and things became easier.
Right. COVID was a challenging time for the health sector especially, but at the same time it brought out so much of innovation and
the business as well. And the laboratories are one such. Amidst all the challenges, I'm sure it flourished, the business flourished.
Yeah, but we look at business in a slightly different way. Even when the government was charging an X amount, we as Thyrocare Gulf or AVM Labs never charge those rates. We always charge what the right price should be to the customer. I'll give you an example of India, the numbers. When the government of India had allowed us to charge 4,500 for an RT-PCR test, Dr. Velumani claimed that no, I will only charge 2,500 because we don't want to make money on the misery of others. And we kept that same thing here
In Bahrain as well.
in Bahrain as well. In fact, I mean, we take pride in saying that when we kept reducing the rates, you saw the incoming rates from Bahrain government to be charged to the patients, I mean flying passengers being reduced on the same lines.
Yes.
So yes.
Yeah, we started off with around some 36, we
Exactly.
went to 24 and 12.
Correct.
Okay.
So that is the thing we believe very strongly in, that when we get benefit, we pass it back to the customer. We don't keep it with us.
That's good ethics, anyway.
You need to have strong ethics in this
Yes.
field.
Yes.
Otherwise you can't.
But allow me to ask you, I'm a bit curious, when you said like you charge like that, but do you think the common man was really aware of it? Because we all used to go to the labs and get things done, isn't it?
No, you all used to go to the clinics or to
Yeah,
the
clinics.
hospitals.
Yeah, hospitals, I
But
meant that.
those are the regulations in the country, because the labs were not allowed to take samples directly. We could only do B2B work. So we are happy to do that. We follow the regulations in each country, part of it. I'm talking
So,
mainly specific to COVID, but with case of blood samples, we were the first to introduce home collection service in Bahrain. So yes, people can call us up and we can send a technician home to get you, take your blood sample.
Okay, okay. When was that introduced?
Oh, we introduced this in 2015.
Okay. All right. So is there enough awareness among the public about this facility?
Not really, because we have been, I would say, media shy, because our essential focus has been the B2B business part of it.
So if you really want to promote the ethics which Dr. Velumani wishes and propagates, I think you shouldn't be media shy.
I tend to agree. This is my first interaction, and thank you for that.
Honored and pleasured. BMC is really honored to have you on your first interview, and it's really because in the beginning I told you, behind the scenes we do not know. We just go to a hospital and get our blood test done. But then behind is your role. People like you or the labs play a big role.
I think if my figures are right, I read some statistics that almost 70% of medical decisions are based on lab work,
Yes.
part of it. So
Yeah.
that is how important accurate lab work is. And when we look at future with genetic testing and other things becoming more affordable, I think more and lab will play a far bigger role in terms of helping not only diagnose, recommend treatment options to patients.
Good that you brought in the point of genetics, because yours is one of the leading, or perhaps on the top rungs, the lab facilities. And we see a lot of development in terms of hereditary, studying in those lines, the genes and things like that. So what are you doing to match up with it?
So good you brought that up. We are in the process of setting up an international lab for genetics. It's still some time away. The only reason we have not set it up today is because again Dr. Velumani says the day you can, today the cost of average genetic testing is about $1,000 or more to the customer, and he has given us a mandate, the day you can give it at $100 to the customer, you can set up the lab.
Okay.
So we have a lot of work to be done, but we are on the job. So the day we are confident that we can give the same quality for that price which he has in mind, we will start our services in genetics.
Great. And what is latest with AVM Labs?
The latest is we have tied up with Datar Cancer Genetics in the UK, and they are among the 2 laboratories in the world which have a blood based test for detecting different types of cancers.
Cancer. Oh yes, yes, yes. I remember
And
that.
in fact, 2 of their tests have got what is called the FDA breakthrough device approvals for breast cancer and prostate cancer. But what they are pushing now for is an approval for, they already have a CE approval. They have a test with with 10 ml of blood, they can detect 70 different types of cancers in a person.
I think that they're also signed with the UAE.
Yes. So, but
and the second was, I think.
Yes, they have also appointed somebody in Kuwait as well, part of it, and so it's revolutionary because this uses the the newest thing which is called circulating tumor cells, but that's a long topic to explain in this thing. And they, in fact, Telegraph did a blind test recently and they had published it, and Datar was able to detect 9 out of 10 samples, and the other company, without naming them, they were only able to detect some 3 or 4 out of the 10 things. So, and most of the things detected by the other company were in the later stages of cancer, whereas Datar was able to detect it even some of the cases in the first stage of cancer. So that is very heartening news for us.
And when you were narrating this, I was just thinking, it's such an interesting field, isn't it? It's every day developing.
Oh yes.
And the vision of Dr. VM of the costs going down. If you look at a couple of decades before, many of the tests which were not affordable is now like it's available. So I'm sure his vision and mission is going somewhere. But the developments, the day-to-day developments, how do you like keep track of it, or how interesting is it?
Oh, it's very interesting, and in fact, I'm supported by a team. We have a large team, and each one looks after the area because there are different specializations in the laboratory itself. It is not just one person doing all, and they keep looking after different areas, both from a medical point of view and other from a technology point of view, because both of those things are developing very rapidly. And another unique thing about us is that we invest a lot on automation. So that the reason we invest in automation is because that gives us the ability to scale part of it. And when we do scale, we are able to reduce cost. And when we are able to reduce cost, the customer benefits.
Okay. Again, you brought me back to because we just diverted through genetics and stuff. I wanted to ask this specific question to you. So you as a lab charges the customer X, but the customer goes and get it, when I get it from a hospital, it's definitely not X, which is more than X, isn't it? So do I have an option to come directly and do that test?
Yes, you have an option to come directly in Bahrain. You have an option. We have 2 collection centers. One is in Salmania, one is in Isa town.
So that means if a hospital asks me to do a test, I can come to you?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And we can do that for you.
Okay. So you have 2 collection centers?
As of now, 2.
Okay. One is in
Salmania, very close to the psychiatric hospital, and one is in Isa town, opposite the Seif Mall.
I would humbly request you not to be media shy, because if you really want to promote the ethics of Dr. VM, you really need to announce
I will work on it. Thank you. Thank you.
So that is Akshay Jain, Managing Director, AVM Labs, with us on Biztalk this evening. Let's take a short break.
The 16th branch of Megamart and Macromart supermarkets in Bahrain has opened in Sahla. The best offers are available to the customers at affordable rates. Everyone is welcome. During and around the opening day, a variety of fish including salmon, meat and dairy products, roastery, frozen items, food and non-food items, groceries, fruits and vegetables, electronics, garments and ready-to-eat food items are available to the customers at affordable rates. Hearty welcome to all. Megamart and Macromart, your favorite shopping destination.
Welcome back to Biztalk from BMC Global Live, and with me tonight is the Managing Director of AVM Labs, Akshay Jain. So we went through the business behind the labs, the science behind it a bit, touched here and there. From your brief bio, I learned that you're an engineer by
That's right.
profession. You went to the REC in electronics and electrical and electronics.
Exactly.
What brought you to this field?
Well, I haven't done much of my engineering right through my life because I read a lot, and somewhere during the course of engineering, because I was a good engineer, I read a book.
Did you get time to prove that you are a good engineer?
Yes, to the extent
you worked, right?
To the extent that I was one of the few who was offered a job in my college before graduating. So
Okay.
that I consider as a
So I
proof.
must definitely hear the twist which brought you to this.
So I read a book from by Akio Morita about Sony, and two books actually in the final year I read. One is by John Scully, From Pepsi to Apple, and when I read those two books, there are two things which caught my imagination, and that was one thing which Steve Jobs told John Scully and got him from Pepsi to Apple, saying that, do you want to sell sugared water all your life, or do you want a chance to change the world?
Okay.
And the same thing, similar thing was told by Akio Morita, who founded Sony, that you can be technically excellent, but unless your products are accepted by the people, it has nothing.
No value.
And then I realized that, okay, I know engineering, but I don't know anything about selling part of it. And then I joined so when there were so many campus interviews which were coming in, I looked for companies which had a very good, sales thing. And then there was a company called Pertec Computers in those days, which was doubling its growth year on year. And they had come previous year also to the campus, and they came, and I applied for that, and I was fortunate to get in. The prime objective there was to learn how to sell products. So I started my thing as a computer salesman in a company called Pertec Computers.
Okay.
Part of it, and and then of course I moved to Dubai in '92 with a friend of mine. We started a business again in the IT industry. Part of it, we did very well there. Again, it was a totally different thing. I didn't know N of networking. We were selling networking solutions. I learned everything from the scratch, and then we we sold hospital solutions, part of it, and I was totally engrossed in work. till I realized that parents are back home and they are not getting younger.
Okay.
Part of it, and then I decided to go back to Goa without having a plan what I'm going to do there and
Okay.
things like that. So went there, and we schoolmates got together, we started a business, we started distribution of LG Electronics, Samsung, all those type of totally different business, Idea Cellular, did well. But one interesting thing that time coming up was the medical TPA. In fact, we were among the first 10 companies licensed by IRDA to be a TPA for insurance companies. And that again brought me to the Middle East, because Bahrain, there was a company called Gulf Union Insurance. They were looking at partners to help set up a TPA for them,
Okay.
because they had a very large portfolio in Bahrain and Saudi. We came, we presented among other Indian companies, and they selected us to be the JV partners. So we got the first TPA license in Bahrain from CBB. It was a 001 license number. I still
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
So I was here with the family for a few years. We set up this. We became, we were managing about 300,000 lives in those days in Bahrain, Bahrain and Saudi, part of it. That thing. And once the business stabilized, I moved back to Goa thing, and again, for me, life has been a lot of sweet accidents, I would call it. Then came across somebody who asked me, because we had written to Thyrocare when I was with GEMS, because insurance diagnostics is a very large part of the bills which we get. So we wanted Thyrocare because they were leaders in India and the cost was affordable, part of it, but that time it didn't work out. So this friend of mine connected us to Thyrocare chairman, and we spoke, and he agreed to form a joint venture. So GEMS formed a JV with Thyrocare, part of it, and that brought me back to the Gulf with Thyrocare. So that's been the journey.
Yeah, the journey is interesting because I can see that you were looking back to the reels, isn't it?
Yeah.
So an engineer and doing IT, and then different sort of businesses,
Insurance,
yes, and finally here you are developing a lab, and that too at a thick of times when laboratories played a major role, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is it all by coincidence, or somewhere deep down, take us back to your childhood, college days, did you have somewhere been nurturing this, or you always wanted to be an engineer?
No, actually I wanted to go into the armed forces.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
My uncles were in the armed forces and I was fascinated about it, and in fact I got selected for the Navy in the final year as well, but then I developed a back problem and I didn't want to be what is called a category, so then I opted out for the commission part of it. So that would have been my first love in terms of a career.
Interesting.
But for me, I love to read a lot. I like to try to understand. And again, quoting one of my favorite engineers, he says that if you can understand the problem, then you have the solution for it. So whenever I looked at any of the businesses I've got into, it is more from a analytical mindset. What is the problem you are trying to solve? And it doesn't matter whether it is when we got into the health insurance thing, the problem was overload of claims, how you can automate it, and we solved that by putting processes, we used technology, we used a lot of things which today people take for time, but mind you, I am talking about 2002.
Okay.
We had an online claim processing solution in 2002.
20 years ago.
Part of it. Today nobody even thinks about it. We used to have voice over IP calls from Saudi coming into our call center in Bahrain, unthinkable in those times, part of it. So that has been our approach, to find solutions to problems, and that has helped me and my love for reading. So instead of only depending on people, I love to read and understand it myself, and I think as long as you're willing to learn, life teaches you all along the way.
Interesting. And we'll come to your reading a little later, but before we move into that, you just spoke of 2 decades ago you were on the front of the race. So what do you see, or as an expert or in the field, how do you see the future of laboratories? Or, you know, with, of course, the past 2 to 3 years have taken a totally different approach to everything, for that matter, and labs which play a very important role. How do you see the future a decade from now?
So, see, there are 2 parts in a laboratory thing. One is when you're sick and you need the results immediately. But if you see in terms of percentage, there are very few people as a percentage of a population, you know, less than 1%, who are sick at any point in time, who really need acute care or, you know, immediate care. But the other people, 99% of the people who are healthy, but they have other disorders, they have metabolic disorders. So they need solutions which are cost effective and which helps them maintain a good quality of life. Now we are not focusing on that 1% who are sick, because for that there are enough infrastructures available. We are focusing on the 99% of the population which has disorders which is not time sensitive. So if you are a diabetic, you need to keep monitoring your sugar and other things, but it is not that you need to know it now unless you are having an acute episode, part of it. So we are focusing on solutions on that. And one thing with human body, what happens is a lot of things can operate remotely, but the blood still needs to come to the lab. So that physical part, we still have to find solutions for that part of it.
And coming to Bahrain, you have one of the best in town. How do you look at, do you have any competitors for that matter?
Oh yes, everybody. See, without competition, you also become complacent.
Okay.
So we were, although we were the first lab in Bahrain to get accredited, but then others also followed suit, including the government establishment. So we believe in.
When you talk of the government, we are talking of the public health laboratory, right?
Exactly. Part of it. In fact, one of them has already got accredited, and other is on the process of getting themselves accredited. So I think we take pride in saying, okay, we set the road and that for others to follow, because that is how you build the society, the whole culture of quality in a country, part of it. So we have no this thing, and we respect the people, other competitors, because they contribute their share of the thing to the market, because it is not possible for us to cater to 100% of the market, part of it.
But still, what do you think is your better edge?
See, our philosophy in life is different. Our philosophy in life is essentially operating as a B2B player and making the lab, quality lab testing affordable, whereas others look at getting into the diagnostic business because it is very, very lucrative. For us, it is more of a social cause as well attached to that.
Okay. So I think we need to take that back home. Affordable care is available, and you can walk to the collection centers in Salmania and Isa Town for lab tests. We have with us this evening Akshay Jain, Managing Director of AVM Labs, on Biztalk. Let's take a short break.
The 16th branch of Megamart and Macromart supermarkets in Bahrain has opened in Sahla. The best offers are available to the customers at affordable rates. Everyone is welcome. During and around the opening day, a variety of fish including salmon, meat and dairy products, roastery, frozen items, food and non-food items, groceries, fruits and vegetables, electronics, garments and ready-to-eat food items are available to the customers at affordable rates. Hearty welcome to all. Megamart and Macromart, your favorite shopping destination.
Welcome back to Biztalk from BMC Global, and tonight with us is Akshay Jain. You repeated a phrase, reading. I love reading, I like reading, or I started with that reading. So I can see that you're an avid reader. What kind of books do you like?
I read everything,
Okay.
right from technology to friction
Okay.
to everything. Any good book recommended by anybody, I'll read it.
Okay, so you need a recommendation.
Or sometimes, I keep following the bestseller lists on the various things, and I keep buying and reading it. Of course, of late it's suffering a bit, but I'll catch up.
Okay, okay. So, what are your other hobbies?
Hobbies, currently I just pursue two things. One is I do trekking. Of course, last 2 years took a break because of COVID, but I want to do all the 7 peaks. I have done the Everest base camp.
Okay.
Next is Kilimanjaro on my list, and then follow in each continent, try to do the peaks part of it. And on the weekends, I like to ride a bike, part of it.
Are you part of any riders group?
No,
in Bahrain?
I am quite a
Loner in that?
Loner in that.
Okay.
I don't get into groups or things like
Because
that.
Bahrain is very enthusiastic
I know,
about
I
the
know,
riders
and
back.
quite a few friends have, how do you say, suggested I join the groups, but I prefer solo.
Okay. So what bike do you ride?
It's a Harley.
Harley, your
Yeah.
own. So how interesting is a lone ride?
Well, it helps you to, it's like a meditation, if I may say that, because you're yourself and the bike and the road. Of course, here Bahrain you can't go too far, but in the younger days in India you used to go few hundred kilometers on a bike, so that was very interesting part of it. I used to cycle also a lot in India, but here also I do cycling, but we used to go on 100-kilometer cycling and things like that, part of it.
So you were born in Ambala, but where are you from?
Our family is originally from Delhi.
Okay.
My dad's family is from Delhi, mom is was from Meerut, but we have settled in Goa.
Goa.
Yes.
Okay. So from Ambala to Goa.
Yeah, because Ambala was where my grandfather was working. He was in the military dairy farms, so that's where I was born. But dad was in Goa, so I was about a year and a half when we moved to Goa.
So Goa is home now?
Goa is home.
Okay. And you've been in Bahrain from 2016?
2015 now.
That's the second term, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, I have spent close to about 10 plus years in Bahrain now.
What about your family?
My family is here. My dad is here with me. My mom is no more. I have a son. He's just gone into engineering for his engineering to the US. My wife and myself, we have a small family. That's
okay. I think you should tell a little more about your wife.
Oh, my wife is more accomplished than I am.
Pallavi Jain.
Pallavi Jain. She is avid painter. She writes poetry both in Hindi and English. She writes articles. She's got a green thumb. She does gardening, and she's an activist when it comes to recycling and all those things also. So yes,
yes,
she has.
I particularly wanted her name to be mentioned because people know her by name, I think, being the green advocate that she is.
They know, more people know her than me.
So Pallavi, if you're watching us, hats off to you. You're doing a good job. Because green is the
Correct.
norm, you know, we really need it. And I really respect people who take up that advocacy. Not all can do it with that passion. And I
That's
think
true.
Pallavi has it.
That's
Great. And what is your personal goal?
Well, way before I got into Thyrocare or AVM Labs, I had always a goal of spending my time in improving healthcare and education, because I thought these are the two areas which need a lot of more innovation, lot of more thing. Healthcare, yes, I am there doing the job as of now, and still miles to go, because still not enough is done. But when it comes to education, that inning is yet to open.
Okay. And before we wind up this evening chat, I did touch upon that topic about the future of the field that you are in. But then can you be a little more specific about how do you envisage Bahrain's health sector in the coming decade or two? Especially we've seen during the COVID how the country put up a brave fight. Team Bahrain, salutes to Team Bahrain, the way we came together and we embraced the situation so brave, we came out.
In fact, Bahrain did an amazing job, everybody is aware of it, but not many people are aware how far-sighted the leadership was. I am privy to some of the things, so I don't know if it's right for me to share, but I guess it is, because even when the first case was not even detected in Dubai, the leadership had sanctioned starting procuring the equipment from Germany, and when the things were not available in Germany, they had people buy equipment from Saudi Arabia, and they used everything to get those equipment and the reagents in Bahrain even before the first case was detected in the region. So really hats off to the leadership of Bahrain, because they were much better prepared than even other GCC countries for this part of it. So
yes, in fact, the World Health Organization's case study report had put Bahrain on the global map.
Correct.
And they have registered that the country had a war room even before the battle was
Correct.
on. So
and answering your other question with respect to the future, see, Bahrain is doing a lot of work on genetics. In fact, they are in the process of doing the whole genome sequencing for Bahrainis.
I think we're even coming up with a center at the Arabian Gulf University.
No, this I'm not sure about what Arabian Gulf University is doing, but I'm aware that in Salmania the government has set up a sequencing.
Oh yes, the genome sequencing
exactly.
center.
So during COVID, that was being used to sequence the strains of the COVID various strains, but they have the full-fledged infrastructure and they have the intention, because once the thing is, once you have the data part of it, today there are enough and more companies having an AI model which can go into the data and throw up what are the expectations and what are the treatment options. It's an amazing field which is developing, and it's more like Star Trek in the old days. Part of it, you will see that is how advanced solutions.
In fact, Genome Center was a 2015 project, if I'm not mistaken. That's when the Crown Prince announced it. Correct. And then we were on a 5,000 database plan.
Yes.
Then it was on.
I think they have upgraded the numbers to 10,000.
10,000, yeah, later it was, and then it's the COVID.
Yes.
But then a lot of developments happened to it, yes. But I think what I was talking about was also the Arabian Gulf University, and they are coming up with the King Abdullah they also have a genome center.
Correct.
And
so lot of different people are, it's a huge ocean out there when it comes to genetics. So there are different people working on different aspects of diagnostics, but one day all this will come together. And what will happen is, once you have your genome sequenced, you will be able to grant access to people more from an IT solution point of view, people who have specialization in that particular aspect, they can go through your genome and give you recommendations whether A, are you susceptible to that disease, or B, what are the type of medications which will work for you. So all that thing today is happening, but it needs to happen at a much larger scale and at a much lower cost.
Affordable cost, yeah. Let's hope that day comes fast. We're slowly getting there, I'm
yes,
sure.
We are getting there. And in
Thank
fact,
you very much for
thank you
joining
for having
us,
me.
Akshay. Before you wind up, Team BMC is indeed proud to have you here, and thank you for taking us through this, the industry that, which I said in the beginning, is not very, people may not know about it. Thank you for taking us through it. Can I have your wrapping comments, please?
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure to be here and talk to you about laboratory. As they say, the laboratory people are the unsung heroes behind
I'm glad.
the thing.
I'm glad.
Yeah, so they need to get
don't
more.
Don't be media shy, please.
Okay, I'll try. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, some sweet accidents make people something different, and they become unsung heroes indeed. And tonight with me at Biztalk from BMC Global Live, it was Managing Director of AVM Labs, Akshay Jain. So until we meet next week with yet another guest, this is Raji Unnikrishnan signing off. Good night. Thank you very much, Akshay Jain, for joining us this evening. We have a small token of appreciation. I would request Francis Kaidar, the Chairman and Managing Director of BMC, to hand over the token, please.
The 16th branch of Megamart and Macromart supermarkets in Bahrain has opened in Sahla. The best offers are available to the customers at affordable rates. Everyone is welcome. During and around the opening day, a variety of fish including salmon, meat and dairy products, roastery, frozen items, food and non-food items, groceries, fruits and vegetables, electronics, garments and ready-to-eat food items are available to the customers at affordable rates. Hearty welcome to all. Megamart and Macromart, your favorite shopping destination.
the exclusive franchisee of Cochin Kala Bhavan in Bahrain. With over a decade of existence in Bahrain, exclusive online regular classes have started for classical dances, music vocal, instrumental music, cinematic dance, Kathak, Zumba body fitness, karate and yoga, drawing, arts and craft, children's theatre. For more information, please call 3909 6845 3909 4806 3885 2397 or visit www.bahrainmediacity.com.